Hello, everybody. Welcome to my very first live stream. I'm totally terrified, but I hope that some of you will be able to join Adoption with Nairi, and I hope that we're going to be able to talk about lots of adopter type exciting things. So I'm not going to wait for people to join me. I'm a few minutes early anyway. I'm just going to keep chatting because I know what it's like when you look at somebody else live streaming and I just sat there waiting for something to happen. And it might be that nothing does happen and nobody does join me. But if they don't, then I would encourage you anyway to watch the live stream through because I've got lots of resources to share with you, which I think are really, really helpful for children, particularly around bedtime. So I've got lots of things to share with you. I've got quite a few bedtime books here, which I think are some of my favourites. I've got one thing which I think is a really, really good. Good afternoon, Ian. Good afternoon. I've got. Thank you for joining me. I hope you can hear me. Please put in the chat yes if you can hear me, because that would make me feel more confident that I can be heard. So yes, I have a really good book that could be used for relaxation. Hello, Candace. Is it Candace or Candice? Oh, brilliant. Okay. Oh, that's amazing. Do you know what? Technology. I have held back from doing this for, well, ever since I got 1,000 subscribers. So I think we're looking at quite a few months ago because I was scared technology would let me down. I'm not worried about anything else. When you're doing this, you look like you're talking back to yourself, which is bad enough, but to think that somebody can't hear you. So is it Candace or is that how you say it, Candace? Let me know if I'm getting that right. So Ian and Candace or Candace or Candice. I've got a difficult name, so I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. Let me know if you are current adopters or if you are in the process. Let me know, and then I can kind of gear the chat toward that because I'm not honestly expecting to have very many for my first live, and the fact that I've got two people is fantastic. I said to myself, if I get two people, then that will be worthwhile. So let me know where you are in the process, if you're in the process, or if you're just interested in adoption in general and you've just been interested in other aspects of the channel like attachment, therapeutic parenting. Let me know. So let me see. So today I was thinking of looking at routines and adopted 1 year ago after fostering for a year. Okay, so that's kind of an interesting journey, I think. So Candace, I'm going to call you Candace, and you have to let me know if that's wrong. So I think when you've been a foster carer, I do think that things start off quite differently with the children that you have, rather than if you are kind of going for adoption from the get-go. I think it's quite a different journey. So it's kind of similar to my journey, although obviously we had the boys for ages before we actually adopted them. So do you have any issues around bedtimes? Because that's what I'm thinking of going for. Oh, we adopted 5 years ago after concurrent planning. All right, okay, that's interesting. Was that tough, just waiting to see what would happen? Did that cause you any kind of like issues, kind of not knowing where things were going to go? I think because for me, like when I'm doing the channel and the things that I get coming through from people, either, yeah, absolutely bedtime woes. Okay, okay. Hello, Eleanor. Nice to see you here. That's 3 people. I'm so chuffed. So I've started stage 1 and I have a 10-year-old birth child. Okay, so you've all got completely different circumstances, which is what makes this fun. So I'm hoping that if I talk about bedtime routines, that I will hit on a subject that most people are interested in. But if not, I'm more than happy for you to put any questions you have in the chat, and I'd love to be able to answer them. The only time when I fall down is if you're in a country where I don't know your adoption process and I can't help you on that. I can help on UK process and I can help on other subjects. So I'll do my best to answer. So if you've got any questions, please do. So Ian, very tough. We had a claim to him from a possible father 6 months into the process. Yeah. This is the thing, isn't it? The heartbreaking thing, I think, about when you go for kind of the fostering side of it. United States, okay. But you have a child already, so that's okay. Because I think the United States have a very similar process to us, but I think they call it different things. And we've very much got a tight process of stage one and stage two, and things fall into those brackets through. So it's very similar, but it's called different things, I'd say. So Ian, bedtime is fine, he sleeps well, but the biggest issue we have is anger management. Okay, we can touch on that. We can do that. I'm thinking that the stream will be around about if I can keep going, that flagging, okay, because I'm not a spring chicken. The boys are out at football for an hour, so I'm thinking I'll try to go for an hour, but if I get a bit, worn out, I might stop before that. So anger, we can touch on that because we have. I'm sure you've watched my videos. We've got one boy who is quite calm and breaking up. Okay, that could be a problem because my internet says it's full on and I'm just streaming through my laptop. So if it gets really bad, then you know we might have to call it a day. Keep letting me know though if it doesn't work out very well because I've got a full internet signal. But obviously, I'm just doing it on my laptop. I don't have any extra equipment, which I'm sure I will progress to. I'm sure I will. So let me know how it's going, if I continue to break up or I don't. So I'm going to move forward anyway. So keep going, Nari. It's only intermittent. Thank you, Eleanor or Elena. Thank you. I mean, the thing is that if the streaming goes okay and I'm enjoying it and people are enjoying it, I will improve on the equipment and research how I can do microphones, inputs, outputs, but it's quite complicated. And I didn't want to stop, you know what I mean? I didn't want to not do the live stream. So one of you says yes to sleeping problems. So this one is really good. It's called Solving Children's Sleep Problems, and it's a step-by-step guide. Okay, in here. So it's not a new book. I've had it for quite a long time. But what it does is it goes through the normal what development of okay, that's fine, Ian. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So it would go through the normal kind of routines of what children do and don't do. So what their development is normally anyway. It tells you how many hours children normally should sleep for and what you should normally expect, which is always handy because I think if we don't know what the normality is, it's really hard to know what adopted children should be able and capable of doing. But anyway, let's not waffle on too much and bore you. So, providing the conditions that encourage sleep. It says a second strategy for eliminating sleep problems is to set the scene for appropriate bedtime behaviour by introducing systematic cues and positive routines, which warn the child that bedtime is approaching. And then it says this works by changing anything that sets off difficult behaviour. And many children with sleep problems do not have a regular bedtime routine, so they do not associate bed with sleep. Some children are prepared for bed hours before being put to bed or falling asleep because their parents mistakenly believe that if they start the preparation for bed early, the child might cooperate. So I don't know what you think about that. So the thing is, I think some children are really, really difficult to get to bed and get to sleep anyway, and that goes on for years and years and years. So I wouldn't want any of you to beat yourself up if you're having lots and lots of problems with sleep time and getting your child to bed. So we did have a foster child. I've mentioned it in my videos that um, it was me. Sorry, I'll shut up now. Oh, it was you. Oh, that's good, Ian. I'm glad it was you and not me. So I wouldn't want you to get too down if sleep is an issue because I think until children feel 100% safe, then they don't settle very well, and that's nothing that we can do about that. It's just time, really. And we had one foster child that it took me about 3 hours to get to bed, and then she was up about 13 times in the night and didn't matter what I did. But I think this book is suggesting that you have a routine, whatever that looks like, and you don't deviate from that, and it says as well, don't spend more than half an hour doing it. So I don't know if you have any things that work for those of you on there that don't have an issue, things that might work for you that you can share in the chat. So things that work for us are having basically, I mean, the boys are older, but we still end up with a story time right at the end. We don't read them a story, but they read the books for half an hour. Now, the little one, who's the one who tests the patience, will always try to say, I don't want to read now. I want to go straight to sleep. Well, he doesn't want to go straight to sleep, but he doesn't want to read. But that reading, like, really, really calms him down. Always that works. So we always have the same pattern before they go to bed, the same routine. So it'll always be a little bit of telly. So we never let them watch telly just before bed because that never works. Shower, telly, and then if they want a snack, they can, and then read. And we never deviate from that. And we don't really deviate from when they go to bed either. And that kind of works for us. So if you've got younger children, so let me see, Eleanor, you haven't adopted yet. So do you know what age you're going to be going for? This is stage 1. So have you started thinking about kind of what age you might be thinking of adopting? And Ian, I'm just trying to see if I can see how old your child is. I still have a bedtime routine with my 10-year-old boy, yeah. We always have a read. Sometimes I read. Oh, sorry. That's good because you're always in the way. You're already in the way of doing that. 3 to 5-ish. Okay. That's a really nice age to have. I mean, yeah, I'm biased. I really like the little ones. I agree with reading, but my son usually doesn't want to. He's 10. No, they don't, do they? He's 5, had him from 6 months old. Well, you're well versed in this, Ian, then, aren't you, if you've had him for that long? But okay, so I'll share some nice books with you then that are for, I've got some here for 3 to 5-year-olds. And who says, Candace says he doesn't want to read. So the 10-year-old then, is he at a 10-year-old level for reading or lower, higher? Because I've got some books that I can show you as well for him, which are in my son's room, and I'll go and get them in a minute. So let me know. So anyway, okay, so I just bought a selection of books, which were 8 bedtime ones, and they were $13.99 on Amazon, which I thought was really, really good. $13.99. So Stop Monkeying Around is all about a monkey making a lot of noise and commotion. Yes, okay, I'll go and get some in a minute. Yeah, a monkey that makes a load of commotion in the jungle, and then finally he finds another monkey, and then that's fine. He stops disturbing everybody. Because finally he finds someone of like mind. So that's that one. That's really sweet. You might have seen this one before, Charlie and the Cheese Monster. It's really nice. He goes up to the moon and he works out that the moon is made of cheese and finds that there are cheese monsters up there making the cheese on the moon. And then when he gets back, it kind of infers that it was a dream. But then when he looks through the telescope, he can see his name written on the moon. I should be well versed by all the issues I've started appearing over the last 6 to 7 months or so. Yes. So, Mr. Wrinkles, this is really sweet. The elephant gets stuck in a hole. He has real trouble. He can't get out. Nobody can get him out of the hole. Each set of animals come along, and then finally they work together as a team. So it's all about working together as a team, getting him out. So that's really nice, I think. So I found that children and adopted children, if you can find some really nice picture books, even if the children are older, I mean, I know the boys are kind of like further behind in their development, but they still love the picture books still. Let's see, we found the school books boring. Yeah, we started going to the library when she was small, and she loved reading when she got to choose the books. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they're really nice books. I just hope I'm saying your name right, Candace, because when people call me Neri or Irene or whatever, it's stressful. So I hope I'm saying it right. Okay, so those are those three, but that's out of a set of eight. But at some point, I'll show the other five either in another video. So I need video ideas, guys. Going at this for a while. I'm fine. Okay, so cat flaps. This is Linley Dodd, and this is quite an old author. Very unique, these pictures. And this original series is Harry McClary from Donaldson's Dairy, and it's very much about rhyming. So lots and lots of rhyming all the way through. And if your child is younger, just skip pages, don't you? They don't know. They have no idea. You're skipping pages. I do that all the time. Or have done it all the time. So yeah, there's lots and lots of rhyming and noises and stuff like that. So that's a really nice one. And if you're a dad, or you might be there might be two dads or whatever, this one's really nice. Shirley Hughes, Alfie and Dad. She's again, a really an old author, but the illustrations in this one are absolutely amazing. And she's done quite a few books. So if you can find Shirley Hughes, I think she probably does go up to an older level, maybe up to the age of 8, perhaps. Right, this is just a relaxation. I'd like to say it's for children, but I really think it could be for adults. This is Mr. Men. Are any of you old enough to remember Mr. Men as children? It's a nice colouring book. It's nice and simple, but you could give it to older ones. There's no reason why you can't give them that before bed if you want to calm them down a little bit. Or even, Ian, if they're having an anger outburst, then you might be able to. You might. Yeah. Oh, you love Mr. Men. Yes, I know. They're just honestly, how he made his money was such a simple idea. But then that's the simple ones are always the best, aren't they? Some really simple pictures in there. That was just off Amazon as well. I don't know how he made his money, but he certainly did. So that's that. Now, what else have I got to tell you? So whoever was in the stages, go back and see. Eleanor. I don't know how far you are in the stages and whether you've done like things around your support network and things like that, and done your mapping out of your network. I'm trying to think of what I put on the note, but on my website, my Wix website, there are a few downloadable documents that might be helpful if you're in the process. You might think that you don't need it and it's not going to help you, but you might think, yeah, that could be really useful. So that's that. So, Ian, anger. Do you feel like you're coping with the anger, or do you want me to go through possible scenarios with you? Let me know in the chat if you want to or not. I'm going to go and get some more books in a minute. You just started. All right, okay. If you just started, go onto my website, which is Adoption with Nairi, and on there you will find an under fives checklist of all the things that you might need to think about. All right, Ian. Okay. We'll have some scenarios. You have to give me some, Ian, so that I can talk you through what I would do, which isn't necessarily the right thing, but it might help you. Where were we? Yeah. So there's an under fives checklist of all the things that you might possibly need when you adopt. There's also like what I would call a complete adopter's guide, which takes you through not exactly the stage 1, stage 2, but everything as an adopter that you're going to need to think about right from the beginning, right the way through. So it's helpful to kind of get you've looked into therapeutic parenting, but yeah, I know. That's because it's a buzzword, Ian. it's a buzzword, and I think therapeutic parenting, well, I'll talk about it in a minute. I need to remember this. Books, therapeutic parenting. Um, the guide will take you through everything that almost the way things happen throughout the whole adoption process. So even if you were in another country, say you were in Australia and you were going for adoption, it takes you through the things that you need to think about. So that's on there. A support network diagram and how to fill that out. And then there's one other thing, there's 4 documents on there, and you just download them and then you can fill them out. And you could present that to your social worker if you want to. Okay. So, 10-year-old books, but you've got a girl, haven't you? I mean, not that it matters that much, but um, okay, starting family home-based therapy where they come to up to our home up to 3 times a week. Okay. And is that to look at what is that looking at something specifically? Hi, Charlie. You're in stage 1, 2 with one biological child who's nearly 3. So realistically, we're looking at fostering to adopt a baby. Yeah. Okay. So that's exciting. Yeah, that'd be nice, a nice age gap, wouldn't it? If you could get a very young baby. I think really foster to adopt is the best route to go if you want. I mean, I don't know where you are. You're in the UK if you're calling it stage 1, aren't you? It's really difficult to get young babies in the UK. So that probably is your best option, albeit scary. I think that probably is your best option. And yeah, check out the website. I mean, if you don't, if you look at it, you think, oh no. I mean, I'm not here to do a sales pitch, but when I do something that I think might be useful, I like people to know where it is because there's so many things, Instagram, websites, it just goes on and on. So yeah, anger issues of not listening, not getting up in the morning or going to bed at night. Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, it all sounds so familiar. I'm not laughing I'm just because it does sound so familiar. And I hope that the therapist can really help you. I think if you have somebody coming into the home that can then work with you and your daughter, then it's better because they can see how you're set up and they can make suggestions that are realistic for you as a family. Yeah, but it's really hard to follow the chat. So you've only had her for a year, did I see? Trying to keep up with you all. I can't believe you're all here. I'm really grateful. It's great not talking to yourself, isn't it? I think you said that you've only had her for a year. I think you did. It got worse after adoption. Yeah. But the thing is that what can I say? If I can explain to you what my son does, I think he's probably closer to me than he is to my husband. I don't know why that is, but I think he is. And that he is so much more demanding for us anyway, as a couple, than he ever is for anybody else. I mean, as soon as he starts to feel secure in a situation, then he can be quite demanding for people as well. He went off on one at the church youth group the other day, so much so that the very patient and skilled lady that runs it, who's a youth worker, said he can't come next week unless he calms himself down. And I think that's because he's very, very comfortable in that group of people and he just can't sometimes just control that anger. And what it was a build up toward my I'm talking about it in a video that comes out. It was a real build up toward my other son's birthday and a lot of anxiety around that. And I kind of worked that out after a while, but it took me a while to work that out. Okay, Ian. If I miss any chats that come through, do forgive me as well, because I'm trying to keep up with you all and make sure I come back on it. But forgive me if I don't come back on anything. It's nothing personal. It's just me being old and trying to follow through. So our little man struggles with any kind of rejection, even if he's doing something wrong and he knows he's doing something wrong. He shouts, hits, and storms off saying, "You don't love me." and you've had him from 6 months. So it's interesting, isn't it, that even from that young age, that sort of feeling of rejection is still there. It's like the pre-verbal stuff that happens. Thank you. Thank you. For a first time, I'm doing all right, you know? Um, it's it's really hard to even anticipate, isn't it, that a child that could come to you at 6 months old has still got an underlying feeling of rejection, but that's happened non-verbally, when they've had that already those early neglect is ingrained, but they don't know where those feelings are coming from. I mean, sometimes my son, I wish I could say his name, honestly. I wish I could say their names and just, show them because you would find them quite entertaining, I'm sure. But he'll say to me, he feels so when I say to him no, even so it could be something simple. So they might come back from football in a minute and he'll be like, he'll probably try and get a chocolate bar or chocolate cake, and I'll say, "No, you need to have toast." Well, if he doesn't wanna do that, he'll say to me, "When you say no to me, I get a really funny feeling inside." Well, it's it's not much that I'm saying no to, but they get that kind of fear, don't they? And that rejection feeling inside, and they just don't know where it comes from, and then it's gotta come out. Like I think you said, it just comes out in their body, in their arms and legs and everything. And it's really hard to calm them down. And that's what they call, um, not being able to regulate. I'm sure some of you know this. If you've gone down the therapeutic parenting route, then they're not able to regulate themselves. And that's when you've got to step in and try and find ways that work to do that. And that can take many, many years to work out what it is that can regulate. Now, for me, with him, it's always touch. It's not talking to him because he shouts over. So I'd have to touch him in the middle of a rage and it might just click him out of that moment. Um, yeah, I get that he's very immature 5-year-old. I think he's more 3 in his head. Yeah, absolutely. Early neglect and abuse. He tells me I do too much because he's not been used to being paid attention to. Mm. I mean, we've definitely had times when we've been very broken because the level that we're dealing with is so high and so stressful. And sometimes when the little one comes, I call him little, I mean, he's nearly 12, and he comes home, well, from the minute he walks in that door that you're going to have a really bad evening, and that's really, really stressful. But all I can say is whatever you've decided is your boundaries, whatever they are, don't move from them. Not for anybody, not for them, and not for anybody looking in on the outside. So even if and Candace, you find that the therapist comes in and you find that, well, hopefully they'll suggest really good things. But if they come in and they suggest things that you've tried or won't work, then you've got to stand up for yourself, because we find that people feel they know our children. I mean, bearing in mind, of course, that we have adult children that like to put you know, their two pennyworth in, and we do appreciate them, but I think only you know your child, and I think consistency definitely pays off, even though it's boring. You just have to keep coming back with the same arguments back to your child and the same routines, and you kind of do win through in the end. Yeah, because yeah, do because again, professionals. I mean, we've accessed therapy for the boys, and we've had some good therapists, and I think it has helped them. But the bottom line is that all they really want is that nurturing from us to be consistent and to be there for them. And in a way, they don't really care about anything else as long as they've got us and they know that we're going to be there for them. And that's pressure, of course, but that kind of really, really works for them. And they have had a really tough start. But from what some of you are saying, you're experiencing some of the things that we have experienced. So, have you got any strategies that you use that do work, that you found that do work. And I'm going to take a swig of what looks like water, but really it's it's okay. It's nothing strong. It's just lemonade. Um, oh, that is the water. Sorry, I need something a bit more than that. Consistency worked brilliant in the early stages as we had a very strict routine. We show so much love, and it does hurt when they push back so hard. Mm. I mean, yeah. I mean, I do have to sometimes. My mum lives quite nearby. She didn't when we first adopted, but if it gets really bad, I have to kind of trot off and go and see her because uh, the boys don't swear because they've come to us from very little children, and we don't swear, so we don't get sworn at. But it's very the way that it's very emotionally abusive toward us, and when you've given up, as we have, a lot of our freedom, it really hurts. Um, But I think because I've seen it in foster children as well, how they push you away. So I've told the story of a little girl that I was so close to, and she had such the most horrific start. One day she just turned around and said, "Well, send me to another placement then," because I'd had words with her, and I couldn't understand it, but I began to understand it, and I think that's what happens with the boys. They kind of push to see what you will do. Um, silliness, yeah, silliness works. Touch is definitely a big thing with him. A hug always helps, but in my head, it's hard hugging someone who's just hit me. Oh no, is he? Does he hit you? Okay, yeah, yeah. And I guess then if he's sitting out, then sometimes you get hurt as well, and it's really it's the last thing you want to do, isn't it, is hug them. You feel like what you're doing is saying that that's okay. It's okay that you've just slapped me in the face and I'm going to hug you now. Um, but honestly, I found the only thing that works is touch with our particular son. And then once I've calmed him down, I'll go through the fact that, the behavior wasn't acceptable and I'm not, and then we might put some sanctions in place if it's appropriate. So once he's calm, then we'll go for well, that's not going to happen again. And this is the consequence of what you've done. We don't just, this is where therapeutic parenting is really difficult. We don't just hug and then go, okay, never mind about that slap. That's fine. We'll hug and then go, okay, that wasn't appropriate and don't expect that to happen again. And then if we think we need to put some sort of sanction in place, we do, but obviously our boys are quite old. Kindness and approval being upbeat mostly, yeah. Son in 13 different, really? Wow, that's incredible. 13 different homes. That's incredible. I mean, what do you think the reason? Oh dear. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, we've been head banged. Oh gosh. When they came back from the broken down adoption, that's when we got hurt a lot. And you can just sit there and cry sometimes, can't you, as an adult and think, where do I go with this? But when I look back, we are seeing improvements. That's all I can say. It's taken a long time, but we are seeing them. And we still get terrible times, but we are seeing them. Why do you think he was in so many? I mean, you might not be able to say on the chat, but why do you think so many homes? Was it the system or was they just couldn't? Okay. Right, okay, yeah. That's harsh, isn't it? When 4 siblings have gone before him. Really, really harsh. Yeah, you've got your work cut out. But as I've said on so many videos, and I do mean this, even though I have my really bad days, I do think those who've lost the most have got the most to give. So if you can um, manage, sorry, it's your daughter, isn't it? I'm getting confused with it. If you can manage to pull through, um, in the end, that love will be strongest. I hope that makes sense, because when they start to realize that they're not going anywhere and you are in it for the long haul and you are going to try everything you possibly can to keep that placement going, then you start to break through. But it's a few years worth, and I think because you're saying a year, um, yeah, you might have another year where you think, is this going to happen? But I think a few years really, you need to give it to see it really settle down. Yeah, that's true. That's got to affect them sometimes. This is why concurrent planning in the UK is such a good plan, as you're the first and only foster home. Yeah, it is. So concurrent planning, are we talking about foster to adopt there, or are we talking about something different? Just checking we're on the same page. I'm determined. He can be such a joy too. Lots of up and down emotions in myself. They teach you a lot about yourself, don't they? Not always good. Not always good. Because you know, I had a really not good childhood, and the one thing I didn't think I could cope with was violence in any way. So sometimes it does bring out a lot of things in yourself that you're not always proud of, but I guess you deal with them as you're going along as well. Um, yeah, so concurrent early permanence, okay. Early permanence. So is that the same as foster to adopt? Yeah, okay. It is the same as foster to adopt, but you get the child direct from removal. Okay, yeah, it seems harsh, but when you find out, yeah, I mean, there's some situations where, I mean, people don't like to talk about it, where it's absolutely the right decision to remove right away, isn't it? And when I look at my boys' chronology, I can't even understand why they were kept in the home even from birth. So yes, I get that. Um, yeah, okay, yeah. And so the downside of that, Ian, then, Charlie, I'm just trying to track um, where you said you were. You're Eleanor, stage one, both in stage one. Yeah. I've lost my train of thought now. I knew I would. Yeah. So yes, that's it, Charlie. That is the flip side, and that's something that is a very individual choice. I think the amazing thing about foster to adopt is that they don't have so many breaks of attachment, and lots of breaks of attachment need lots of repairing until that child finally realizes that you're going to be the one. Um, so yeah, but there used to be. I mean, I don't say what you think in the comments. I mean, whatever country you're in, but we went through a whole cycle in our country where judges were deciding not to go down the foster to adopt route, and they were deciding to place babies in, like, mother and baby units. Um, and they were just going down that route, and then the children or the babies were still ending up anyway, needing to be placed for adoption because it didn't work out. And there was a whole kind of like push toward that happening where everybody thought that child was going to go for adoption, but then they ended up going to a mother and baby unit, and everybody was like, oh, we didn't expect that to happen. So I don't know what the situation is now, whether more opportunities are coming up to do that parallel. You called it something else, didn't you? But permanency, or like that parallel planning. I don't know now if that's opening up more, and more opportunities are happening with that. The downside is getting a baby dropped off at your door, 2 hours notice with no clothing equipment. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome, Candace. I mean, I will try and do lives at different times. I realise that in America you probably started around 2-ish, and we're in the evening here, but I can flip it around and do it at different times so that people are, not having the same issues with that type of thing. But thank you so much for joining me. Really, really chuffed, pumped, in fact. So I hope things go well for you, and thank you for watching my videos. back to the parents. But it's very unlikely they will due to reasons they removed. Yeah. It's tough but ultimately rewarding. Yeah. See you. I hope the school run goes okay. Yeah. I mean, birth parents are always plan A, aren't they? Unless, of course, they know that that family has got such a horrendous history, and you know. So yeah, you do have to have that in the back of your mind. But I think if you're very much the sort of person who wants to experience a very young child, a baby, then that is the easiest way to secure that in a way, I think. So yeah. So do you have any particular routines in the evenings that any of you who are watching actually think work? Anything that therapeutically works in the evening? So if you look at your evenings, I think one of you said you do okay with your evenings, but if you look at your evenings and you've tried lots of different things, is there anything that you know kind of works better or really doesn't work? Because I'm sure we can all learn from each other in the chat anyway. And you know, I don't I haven't got the young children anymore, so it's a bit different for me. However, I was telling somebody this and they could hardly believe it. We have to stand on the corridor and make sure that they do everything. So we have to stand on the corridor and make sure they've done their teeth, and we have to stand there and make sure the teeth actually were brushed, and we have to stand on the corridor and make sure they've changed. And so we're still putting them to bed like they were more like 5 or 6. So, but we can leave them to read a book, so it's a bit different. Um, they need warning, yes. We have a countdown, so it's not just sprung on them like it's bedtime. Hi, Kelly. That's good, Ian. Yeah, I think they always need some sort of warning because they can't, they can't cope with it otherwise, can they? I find the boys can't cope with that anyway. Even if we're going somewhere lovely, say we're going down the shop to buy a bunch of sweets, I seem to need to give them warning because they can't cope with it thrown on them. Hi, now myself and my partner are currently waiting to move into stage 2. How exciting! You've got all the rubbishy paperwork out the way. Your videos are really helping with the research. Thank you, Kelly, because I can't, I could do loads of videos, and if nobody watches them, then I'm not going to get anywhere. So I'm glad they're helping. I have to try and come up with new ideas all the time, and I do come up with new ideas. I don't really know how I do that, but I do. Sometimes it's hard to kind of put videos out there for people who are brand new, who want to know everything from the beginning, and then people who've been watching the channel for a while want something a little bit more in depth. So that's a challenge. But there we go. So my partner and I have so Ian says that's the same with my 10-year-old birth child. He needs coaxing through every part of his bedtime routine. Yeah. I didn't go and get who was it that wanted the books for 10-year-olds? If you're still there, I will run into the bedroom in a minute. But if it was Candace, I won't, because I probably forgot to do that. My partner has 2 birth children who are 7 and 8, and we're trying to prepare them for an adopted sibling. Lots of books, videos, and discussions. Any tips to prepare them for the social worker? Dun, dun, dun. Well, there are some lovely social workers out there. There really are. I think it depends on your social worker. Some social workers are really good with children, so they'll know how to approach your children, and you won't really need to prepare them. And others are not quite so kind of skilled. But I think the problem is that children will be honest anyway. So the social worker will ask them how they feel about having a brother or sister, and they might ask them whether they understand a little bit about, they wouldn't go into a lot of depth, but what type of circumstances the child might come from and the fact that they haven't been able to stay with their current birth family. So there'll be a bit of discussion around that. Sometimes they will do it in the room with you there. So, I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be good to keep butting in with the social worker, but you could actually sort of. I used to find when our children were questioned, that our adopted children, about anything, they never understood what any of the professionals were going on about, because professionals tend to use language that our children wouldn't get. So they might you might be able to stay in the room and actually help and support your children anyway to answer the questions. Um, no, they're not looking forward to it. So, is that going to happen soon? Then, do you think boys in general, Ian? Well, it could be. I mean, I had four daughters, and they're the boys. Oh, I mean, I remember my birth son being different, but I don't remember these smelly, horrible problems. So maybe it is that. I mean, I'd like to put it down to that. I really would. I know the youngest is excited, but the eldest boy doesn't comment on it much. Hmm. He's not the best with change, though, so lots of coaching on our end. But he is one to. But he is one to not to be okay with things until it happens. Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah. So like he might be more cautious, but then when it happens, he'll be fine. And I think the thing is about this is the really the really surprising thing about the whole adoption thing is that sometimes having children in the family is the best thing that ever happens to a child coming into a family, as is pets. I mean, I don't go rushing out to buy one, but it's sort of smooths the waters a little bit. So, yes, I'm sure there'll be tussles of power and things like that. Yes, I'm sure you'll have some problems, but I think when a child comes into a home with a child, it's actually fantastic. So it's good to be excited about it. So I think if you show it a lot of excitement about it with your children, they will pick up on that. And I would probably say to the social worker that they're nervous about it, so the social worker can be thinking in their mind, how can I approach this in a sensible way? How can I actually ask this in a sensible way? You do have to help them along a little bit sometimes. Yeah, okay. So later this month, during the Easter holidays, our social worker is lovely. Oh, okay, that's good. And has three children herself, so I hope it goes okay. Yeah. The kids know a high level of where adopted. Okay, it sounds like you've prepared them really well. It's just nerve-wracking. The whole process is nerve-wracking, but if you've got a lovely social worker with children, you're on a winner-winner chicken dinner, because there are plenty of social workers who haven't had children and they don't always know how to use that language. So I think you'll be fine. It sounds like you'll be fine. Um, our boy was really happy but a bit apprehensive, but when he arrived, you could see the love pour out of him. Yeah, because they don't care. When I say they don't care they're adopted, they don't see a difference, do they? They just get on with it. We think about these things, but they just see them as little. So in regards to pets, we are like Pets Corner. Perhaps you should charge. A dog, a cat, and two rabbits. Oh, you've got a lovely selection there. They help me win over my partner's kids, so they're always a winner. Yeah, they are. I mean, did you say how old you're thinking of adopting? I don't know if you have. Let me know in the comments what age you're thinking of adopting. Let me know. Um, I mean, yeah, unless you have a child with a history that you know, this is I find this really hard to talk about actually, because we have had a child like this where pets were cruelly treated and that they were seeing that, and that's how they expect things to happen, then normally it's going to be okay. Oh, that'll be fine, won't it? Well, toddler toddlers do funny things, don't they? But with a 0 to 2-year-old, you'd be supervising them anyway, so it's going to be fine, isn't it? And about before you came on, we were talking about hello, Kulani or Kulani. Let me know if I said that right, because I would like to get people's names right. Glad to see you here as well. Where was I going? We were talking about concurrent planning, foster to adopt and things like that. So are you going down the traditional route for adoption, Kelly, or how are you going about this? Be interested to know. I've had quite a lot of conversation around that. You also find the dog will be super protective of a new pup coming in. Yeah, we have a German Shepherd and he loves our boys and will do anything to get their rings. Oh, still discussing age. He wants younger, and I want a teenager. Do you? As they are less likely to get adopted. That is so true, and that is very, very true. Yes, you said my name right. Good job. Good, because yeah, there's nothing worse, is there, than somebody saying your name incorrectly all the way through. Well, if you have a teenager, then that would be amazing. That would be amazing. But it's kind of like you and your husband need to decide. Maybe there'll be a happy compromise somewhere in between. But yeah, they very rarely get adopted. That's very, very true. So we were on pets. Yeah. So Kelly, are you going down traditional adoption route or are you foster to adopt? Because we were talking about um, Kulani. I don't know what country you're from. We have someone here from America. We have a couple from the UK. So, oh, we're looking at adoption as we don't feel like foster to adopt is the right option for us for a few reasons, such as in case they do go, yeah. So this is what we were talking about. It's very personal choice, isn't it? Some people are happy to take that risk, and some people are not. And I was just talking about, excuse me, I was talking about there was a push in the UK not long ago that loads of the foster to adopts that people thought were going to happen then went back to mother and baby units, and I don't know whether that's still the case, but that did happen for a while. Let me see. Oh, we're shooting up the line here. Financially, as I don't get leave for fostering, but we have a good adoption policy. That's good. We are compromising around the age of 11 to 13. Oh, that's an interesting age. I mean, teenagers are lovely, aren't they? I mean, they are. I don't. People say to me because I've already had 5 children. Well, wasn't teenage awful? Not. It wasn't really. In some ways, now they're adults, I worry about them just as much. I think every stage has its difficulties. Every stage has its difficulties, and I think it's very much about matching what feels right to your family and not being persuaded kind of by outside influences or anybody else, really. So, Kelly, you can get leave for fostering now. Can you? Yes, I think it has come in, hasn't it? I'm American, however, just moved back here from living in the UK for 4 years. Oh, that's very interesting. Hmm. And what did you think of the UK? Apart from being very cold and generally people not really speaking to you. I'm only saying no, sorry. Got lots of people from the UK in the chat, and that's a horrible thing to say. I just find that yeah, we're more reserved. That's the way to describe. Yeah, I mean, Kelly, you have to go with what's right. You do. You do have to go with what's right. I mean, even when we were fostering and we weren't fostering to adopt, and we thought maybe we had a placement for life, and then all of a sudden there's talk about that placement moving. For, it happens and it breaks your heart. I mean, there was one situation where it was out of our control. It was nothing we did. It was a situation where things weren't quite right for the family or safe, and the child had to move on. It broke my heart. So it's yeah, it's personal choice. Uh, yeah. Right, you loved it. Moved there from Seattle, Washington, which had similar weather. Yes, the English are much more as aren't they? Yeah. Because I have a planning channel, a decorative. I mean, you don't need to worry about this, but I have another planning channel, and they're all American. There's they're all American, and they're just so upbeat all the time. Yeah, they are. No, don't worry, Ian. I know, because sometimes like something feels right, doesn't it? And you think you want people to know about it. I mean, I'm like that all the time, and I have to tell myself to shut up and let people have their own opinion. But you're not pushing; it's fine. I mean, you're just letting people know. But it is a very tricky one, and there's been a lot of debate and discussion over foster to adopt. To start with, people saw it as an amazing thing, but I think then a few people had fingers burnt. But if you can kind of weather the storm, then it's a good way of getting a very, very, very young child, isn't it? Um, that's okay. I'm stubborn. Are you, Kelly? Are you? That's what my husband says about me. I don't think he can possibly be right. Um, British are more friendly the more north you go, I think. Yeah. Yes, I'm very well. They might be more friendly. in the north, but let me tell you, where I am, they're very eccentric, very eccentric. Eleanor Wood, does anyone know if your employer should give you the time off for the 3-day prep training in UK, or do you have to take annual leave? I think now this is where I'm going to be a bit woolly because it's a while ago, isn't it, since I adopted the boys, and also things change. I think you can claim on that. I think if you go and look at Amy Vlog's channel, and like honestly, I can't tell you what video it is. I'm sure she went through some of the things that you can get payment for, and I think you can for that. But it's gone out into the world now, so I hope that's not wrong. But I think I might be right on that. So, oh, there you go. Thank you, Ian. So there you go. You can. And anyway, to be honest, I sometimes think it's worth asking a social workers for stuff anyway, isn't it? Sometimes if you don't ask, you don't get, do you? So for those who've joined us recently, we were looking at bedtime routines and the difficulty with bedtime routines. I think it's a common issue, a common problem. And the main thing that I did show was this book, Solving Children's Sleep Problems. But I think the ones that have joined us are still in the process. Do you have any books to recommend? I've got loads, loads about adoption. Okay, so what aspect of adoption would you like? Do you want like real stories, or do you want therapeutic parenting, or do you want kind of yeah? Give me an idea, and I'll give you an idea of what's. I mean, there's so much out there. I'm not the type of person who likes reading too many real stories because I get really upset. I think it's because our boys have had horrific, and children are fostered horrific, and it's too close to home for me. But you might be looking for something about real experiences, or you might be looking for ways of parenting. So give me an idea. I have got quite a few, really. Yeah. Something really lovely that happened. Sometimes you wonder if anything lovely is going to happen, but when I don't know if anybody saw that book review I did for Jessica Kingsley. I don't know what I've done with the book. You see, I don't know where it is now. But I did a therapeutic. I did one for Jessica Kingsley about trauma. And that's a very good one. But Jessica Kingsley's have said they want me to do some more reviews. So that'll be lovely because what will happen is they'll let me do the review before it's published. So you guys can get to see it and how to mentally prepare ourselves and educate ourselves to be the best adoptive parents we can. Okay. And this is for teenage, isn't it? The one that I really like, it's not necessarily the what's the word I'm looking for? Trendy. It's not the trendy one, but the one that I found the most useful of all the books I've ever read is Kim Golding's Nurturing Attachments. Now, if you're just please don't go anywhere. I'm sure I've got it on the shelf behind me. So quietly talk amongst yourselves. Let me see. This is my favourite one. Because it goes through kind of like an order of how to understand attachment. And although attachment is but a theory, as is therapeutic parenting, so I'm being a bit controversial, it kind of explains attachment right from the beginning. So it gives you an overview, and it goes through caregiving and its impact on attachment, patterns of attachment. And as you go through the book, it starts giving you some practical, I don't know if you can see this, ideas as well. So parenting children with difficulties experiencing relationships is secure, but it takes you right from the beginning. So once you've read this, you'll get attachment. You won't really need to read anything else on it, but you'll also have some practical things in your head about how you're actually going to do it. Because the problem with a lot of professionals and a lot of things that you read, they'll give you the theory, but they won't give you how you're going to do it. And then that's a real problem because it's not going to help you. Um, so let me see. The Good Mum is a good podcast, or the Adoption and Fostering podcast. Yes, podcasts are brilliant. I mean, anything that you can lay your hands on. I bought the therapeutic parenting book you recommended. You should get a commission from Amazon. Is that the one that I did a review on for Sally Donovan? Was it? Yeah. That was quite different, that one, because it had all the illustrations in there as well. But there is another one coming out from Sarah Nash, and that's the one that I'm going to be reviewing. I'm quite excited about that as well. Let me see. It's interesting. We have a therapy, yeah, by Sarah Nash, and we've been implementing some of the theories on my partner's children. It's amazing watching it in practice. Yeah. Well, it's good, Ian, that you've got it. I think it was, I thought it was quite good. I enjoyed reading it for myself and my own understanding. Yeah, so Sarah Nash is bringing out another way that, has been speaking to me. He says it's really funny and he laughed in it. So that's good. Oh, sorry. Yes, the yes, that's you're okay. Let me show you that one. This one is also very good. So the difference between this is going to give you kind of more, not intellectual, because it's not particularly intellectual, but more background information. This is like examples of how, kind of little things you can do. So there's a chapter there, providing care and touch with Theraplay. So Theraplay is an actual thing that's been designed, if you like, an actual way of doing things. Yeah, I did put that on a video quite a while ago, didn't I? All right, Ian, thank you so much for coming and joining me and participating. Thank you. I will probably do another, seeing I've had people join me, I probably will do another live stream. But thanks so much, Ian, for all that you've contributed in the chat as well. I would like to know if other people are experiencing the sound issues. I think in the beginning people said it was intermittent. And I think Ian said then he sorted it out. So, oh, okay, Kelly. I think the thing is, all I'm doing at the moment is I'm using my laptop. So I haven't got any, great technology going on. But I think if I was going to live stream regularly, then I would try to put something in so that we didn't have any problems. See how it goes if you go out and come back in. Okay. So there have been issues all the way through. That's okay. I mean, it's a first time, isn't it? So I need to sort that out though. Absolutely, Judy. Yeah, I'm going to leave it up. Apparently, there's been some sound issues, so I don't know what the quality will be like. When you come back into it, but I'll leave it all up. I might as well, might as well. Yeah, there've been some children's books that I've shown, and there's been other books as well that I've shown about parenting and things, and we've discussed things like bedtime routines and that type of stuff. So has anybody else got any other questions? I'm really sorry, Judy, but I'd love to stay on a bit longer for you because you've come in and it's really lovely. Probably going to be going now for about another 5 minutes, 5 to 10. Oh, okay. That's good. I don't want I don't want anybody listening back and I sound like a frog or something. So yeah, I'll probably stay on for another 5 to 10 minutes though. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free and I will answer them if I can. Judy, are you in the process or have you adopted? Oh, okay, I have a question. All right, my favourite part of being an adoptive parent and what is your partner's? Yeah, bye, Ian. Bye. Right, okay. Now, this is going to sound really strange, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think that when we had our 5 birth children, life was almost a bit of a walk in the park. I mean, not exactly, but I feel like the boys have brought something different to the table, and I think they've taught me a lot about myself because you can have almost like parenting pride, can't you? That our kids were bright and they did really well and la la la. But I feel like with the boys, like it's unconditional love and you can see that come back to you as well. So it's just that little touch or that little moment when they say something to you and it means so much, and you know it does. It's kind of that really. I think the unconditional love with no expectations. It's taught me that that is what the most important thing is in life anyway. And I think before we had the boys, it was almost we had certain pride in our parenting, whereas now it's like it's based on a different foundation almost. I hope that I don't know if that makes sense to you really. I think with my husband, I don't know what he would say, but I think that because we had 4 daughters and a son, I think having 2 more sons has been really special for him, and also because we're older and we're retired, he's actually had more time with these adopted sons than he would have had with his birth children, and I can really see how he's enjoyed some of those times with them, building. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't spend time with our children, he's a brilliant dad, but he's probably had more flexibility with these, and you can see how his skills of nurturing them educationally, of which they struggle, have really come in as well. So yeah, I think they probably keep us young as well, because obviously we wouldn't normally be having children at this age, and we've got grandchildren. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Where are we, Judy? Are you in the process, or are you? Hello, hummingbird cage. No, thank you. Thank you for joining me, and you're welcome. I'm really glad that you watch my videos. I'm really, really happy about that. So, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from the experience? Okay. The biggest lesson I've learned, and this is going to sound like that my birth kids think they know it all. I've got some really bright birth children, and in that mix, I've got a daughter who's a social worker, and I have a daughter who's trained as a play therapist, and they come up with a lot of suggestions as to how to manage the behaviour of the boys and the difficulties they have, of which there are many. The biggest lesson I've learned is I have to listen to my gut instinct when it comes to parenting them. Sometimes they are not ready for things, and I have to say no, or I don't think that's a good idea. And it's quite difficult to say that because I do respect my birth children, they're adults, and I think they do bring a lot to the table when it comes to sharing the family experience with the boys, but I don't think they know them as well as we do. And I feel like we're the parents and we need to stick to the plan. So I just block out kind of what other people think. I try to. That's my biggest thing, I'd say. So hummingbird cage, you're thinking. I just want to say mainly, but not in the process yet. But thinking of it, or just generally interested. Are you thinking that you might like to? And what country are you from? That'll be interesting to know as well. Very interesting to know. Um, but yeah, I mean, sometimes people watch my channel and I don't even think they are thinking of adopting. I think they're interested in adoption as a topic, and then sometimes they're interested. I might get foster carers watching who are interested in attachment, therapeutic parenting. That's why I keep those in the UK. Okay, yeah. And it's good to kind of take your time, isn't it? Think about whether it's what you really want to do, weigh up the pros and cons and time commitment and things, of which that is the main thing. It's a time commitment. So yeah, I mean, it's been our journey has been really difficult because obviously we fostered the boys first and we had all manner of, shenanigans around kind of getting approved as adopters and all that type of thing. And so it is can be a hard, long journey, but honestly, deep down, I don't have any regrets and putting ourselves through that. I think we've just learned so much about ourselves. We've changed massively, but I think those lots of those things have been a real bonus. And it's hard. Every day is hard, but I really think that love that you have for adopted children, but particularly from our point of view, very neglected children that really have had a very difficult. They've had their life chances affected, and what they're going to be able to do in life affected. Being able to care and nurture for children like that and love them and know that um, we've made a difference to them, and they've made a difference to us is something that you can't really put into words. Let me see. How did you find going from Nairi to mum, fostering then to adopting? Mm, that's a really good question, Kelly. So this is really odd. 'Cause when we first started fostering, we had a long-term uh, child that came to us who'd had a really appalling start and really not a very good foster placement. And the foster carer was held her hands up and said, I can't do this. So she was going to come to me as a long-term placement, and she used to call me mum from the word go and still does. So what happened was when the boys came, because they had no speech, they first learnt their early words and they learnt to say mum because Nairi was too difficult, but they learnt to say Tim. So they used to copy what she used to say and call me mum, and they used to call Tim Tim, which was strange. But I can definitely tell you that going from fostering to adopting, I thought would be no difference whatsoever. I just thought, nah, it's not going to be any different. We've been caring for them for how many years? How can it be any different? It felt completely different. It felt like they were finally ours. And that was a really lovely feeling. And whilst we've had good support from social workers, we've always got on with them. But I think then not having like continuous visits all the time, checking on what we're doing, making sure everything's okay, and just feeling free as a family that they're finally our children and we can live our family life as we want to. I think that was a really, really nice feeling because then we stopped fostering when we adopted them. We could have carried on fostering babies, but we decided not to because of the commitment of the boys. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. I'm just going to have a little swig here. I did say I'm still here. I didn't think I was going to go on this long, but here I am. Mm. So, what have we got? Other half needs a bit more time to process. We're coming from a number of unsuccessful IVFs and no birth children. That I'm really sad for you. What I would say that's a bit of an encouragement to you is I don't know why it is, but a lot of times there is one partner who feels more definite about it than the other one, and it can take a while for that kind of to come around. So hopefully in time that will happen, and also you've got a lot to get over as well. And I'm sure you realise there needs to be a gap of time anyway. I mean, it's written in lots of places there needs to be, but it might be that once you've had that time out, that your other half will gradually kind of come around to the idea. I think once you get more knowledge about adoption, you start to understand it better, then it becomes less of a fearful thing and you feel more positive about it. Um, that's quite all right. I want to say Kulani, you're welcome and thank you for joining me. Are you staying or yes? Oh, you're still staying. That's okay. Right. So Kelly, Hummingbird, we were always open to adoption. I looked at it first, then found that we were entitled to be funded round of IVF, and so why not? Very naive, but when it didn't work, we realised, yeah. Sometimes you've got to try your options, haven't you? Like, I feel like by the time you get to the adoption process and you start going through it, especially when you've done the first initial checks and you start going on that journey, it becomes very much part of who you are, and you start thinking of yourself differently once you get going. Do you find it's taken your husband longer as well? Yeah. Sorry. No, I'm still here, but the kids have come back, so this will be interesting. I can hear, "Mum, mum." I'll tell him I'm live. Unless you want to be live on YouTube, I suggest that you just stick with Dad. Oh, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, we took some. Will we be content without having a biological child? No, darling, you can't because I'm live on the YouTube, so you can't come in, can you? Well, you could, but um, as content without having a biological child, and for us, mm-mm. I think this is an interesting one as well, isn't it? And loads of people say, "Do you feel the same about biological children and adopted children?" And I've mentioned in my videos at the beginning, you might not, but I can say now that I feel the same. Like if anything happened to any of my adopted children, I'd feel the same as if anything happened to my biological children. That bond gradually grows and deepens. Yeah, but I'm online, darling. You can't come in at the moment. Yeah, apparently Dad's not here. Where is he? Yes, adoption is such a different path to IVF, and you need to be 100. Yeah, you do. You need to be. You need to be 100%, but sometimes you've got to stick your toe in the water a little bit as well, because deciding to start the process and moving forward is not necessarily mean that you're going to actually do it. You're just dipping your toe in the water and you're finding out more and seeing how you feel about it. So you can, always pull out at any point through the process. I mean, you wouldn't want to do that right near the end, of course, but you can pull out. I think having my stepkids has really helped. So I love them as if they were my own. Yeah, this is it. So you know that you can do that. That they haven't come from your womb, but you can love them as much as your own, and that's demonstrated to you that that's possible. So yeah. Okay, guys. I would love to carry on chatting, but obviously I have two children in the house, and apparently they don't know where Dad is. I'm sure he's up here somewhere. Um, Judy, hello, I don't want to miss you. It's a dream to adopt. Mum to 5, still at home, 3 hour. Yeah, it is lovely. So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this time, and I will make sure that I look into how I can get better quality audio and that type of thing. I mean, I don't know whether I'll manage that for the next one, but I will try to do that so that you don't have the lagging. And thank you so much, guys. I honestly thought I might be sat here talking to myself, which I do anyway. That's a sign of old age. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much, guys. And I'm going to end the stream now, and I'll see you on the next one or my video. My next video will probably be out Thursday, Friday. So see you on that one too. Okay, thank you. Bye.